Okay, Jerry. I'll take her in. Attention. Captain to crew, stand by to reverse polarity. Standard Class A security will be maintained upon landing. And until further notice, all hands will wear sidearms. That is all. Artificial gravity off.
Grab off.
Half flux.
Half flux.
Cut primary coils.
Primary's cut, sir.
All clear, sir.
Well, hello, Blue Troopers. Max and Max's Models here. Hope you enjoyed that little video that I just put together with the model of the C-57D simulator that I just finished. I want to thank you for all the kind comments. Yeah, now that it's done, leaning over a little bit does give it more of that full motion simulator feel. And I want to thank the Glue Trooper that sent me the kit, as well as a lot of the lighting stuff that went with it, including that flashing computer that he made, which is originally actually for the Lost in Space Jupiter 2. I think it was supposed to be the navigation computer, but it was an interesting little example of what you can do with LEDs and some fiber optics and a lot of patience. That large-scale Jupiter 2 will probably be my next project. So, as you know, I had a lot of aggravations with this simulator, largely because what I had in mind was, and may still do, may use it for this, was making sort of a faux TV commercial for, Consolidated Galactic Starships and use all my different flying saucers and space models to make a big faux commercial just for, a little video just for kicks and giggles. But when I built the original C-57D, and I'm sure most of you followed me during that debacle, I wasn't really impressed with the kit that much. It was virtually impossible for me to get all the seams out of it, which is where I really went south. And all the attempts at constantly painting and putting and painting again left all the surface paint so weak that every time I would try to trim something, the tape would take the paint off with it. It was a real nightmare. And I made so many mistakes along the way. To begin with, as much effort as I put into aligning everything, the seams just weren't perfectly aligned. And it's really hard because of the large scale and the fit and everything. I'd heard complaints about this kit, and I understand where they come from. I mean, it's a plastic model. And as we all know, often when you upscale the size of a model, it gets much harder to make the details work. Seems a little counterintuitive, but the seams get bigger, everything gets bigger. What this kit really needs is a single piece top, which would be virtually impossible to ship. I went through a pound of putty. The only person I know who really did a great job on it was the late Trek Works, and he was an auto body guy, so he actually was using auto body tools to get it to smooth out the putties and stuff. He was just a lot better at it than I am. Of course, he was also excellent with all the lighting and everything else. But that being said, I will probably still do something with the C-57D. I've got it laying over in the corner, and I went through the trouble to have Ken 3D print a proper top for it, proper shape, which I painted. And really what I should do is vacuum form it to get a smooth plastic top, but I don't know anyone that has a vacuum form machine large enough to do that. They did sell vacuum form tops for a while, but I haven't seen them, and I think they were gone a long time ago. And you may recall I painted the inside of the bottom glass piece or clear piece black, and then painted it and everything, and went through the trouble to try and make the engine look a little better, because if you notice the original ship, it's not a rotating light. It's actually the pillars, those legs that extend down through the drive engine, actually rotate around a stationary light. And in the smaller 1 to 144 scale model, they actually make a unit that can do that, so it works properly. I considered trying to have something like that made or making it, but given the overall look of the rest of the kit, I was like, nah, it's not. It's just, quite frankly, it wasn't worth the effort. And this is one of those times when vacuumforming could really come in handy, but I just don't know anybody that has a 3-foot plant on a vacuumform machine. If they do, it's probably very expensive. It's one of those things that if you've got the patience and the skills to go 2 pieces at a time and just take a lot of effort. I forget how many hours Trekworks said he was sanding on that thing, and he had wooden blocks back there to support it. I mean, it was not a small undertaking, despite a relatively secure structure on the thing, but it just doesn't line up that well. And I decided to make the cockpit separate because I wanted to make a separate display out of it, and I did. And I decided, hey, what the heck, I'm going to do that. Let's just go ahead and make it a simulator. Of course, I had to remove the grill pattern that was on top, the structuring members, which makes it look a little different, but it's a simulator. One of the nice things about making a simulator out of it is that it doesn't have to be 100%. Simulators are not 100%, so it gives you a little artistic license there. Aside from the difficulty in building it, I would have to say it's also one of the most difficult to display unless you're going to hang it from a ceiling because it's just so bloody big. That starts an entirely new discussion on the practical size of models outside of museums. But I would have to say that this C57D probably holds the record of the most work for the worst outcome of any kit that I have built. And the simulator, of course, doesn't really count because that's more or less a kit bash, and I'm cutting up bowls and things to make outside shells and fabricating parts, which I'm not great at. And the biggest problem I had with it was I didn't really have a sound design before I started. And as I went, I was like, well, if I ever do this again, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And, you learn as you go. And I'm trying to do things on the cheap using foam board instead of wood bases, and gluing nails in places instead of, drilling in actual working hinges and stuff like that. So I'm just going for a look. And overall, it more or less delivered. I might remove those decals at some point and actually make my own, but to be honest, I'm kind of really ready just to move on to other things. It was fun and it came out okay. I'm not disappointed with it. I just see where I could have done a lot better, but then, that's why, what is the old saying in aviation? You never fly the A model of anything. And if I ever do something like this again, I've got 101 things to do different. But that being said, it kept me occupied, didn't cost much money, got me practicing with lighting and a lot of other stuff. It expanded my skill set a little bit, as humble as they are. Those rubber caps that are on the top and bottom of the legs, which are just supposed to be literally covers, they just came out of a little rubber ice tray that I bought for $1 and just cut up. It was, you go to any place, Michael's or wherever, you find all this arts and crafts stuff, or maybe even one of those kitchen stores that sells all the interesting implements for cooking, and you look at something and go, hey, that would be great for this. I mean, who of us hasn't looked at the El Cheapo jewelry section and gone, you may see a necklace or a bracelet. I see an anchor chain. So that's just the way it is. But it's behind me now. Well, not entirely, because I still have things to do with the C57D. I want to make some kind of display out of it. I just don't know where I'm going to put it. Man, I may just wind up hanging it on the wall. Anyway, I do have that working bottom light for it, so I'd like to display it somehow. But there's not room. The tarbus, the ceiling isn't high enough. And it may go in the garage. We'll see. And I can just see me leaving the little red light going, forgetting about it, coming back at night, opening the garage door, and freaking out when I see the spaceship flying around inside my garage. Oh. But anyway, since I took a bunch of pictures yesterday and a little bit of video footage, I thought I would just cobble together that little thing at the beginning. There's a rumor floating around they're going to remake Forbidden Planet, which I'm inclined to agree is one of those movies that probably shouldn't be remade. Although I have to admit, John Carpenter's The Thing with Kirk Douglas was a really good follow-on to the original, and I wasn't disappointed with it. I'm afraid they'll butcher the new one. However, I was thinking, as you may have seen at the very beginning opening comments here, that if you wanted to make a follow-on to it and not touch the original, you could get Robbie and the cast and everything and have like the, okay, what happened to the C-57D after they left the planet? You could update the look and everything, but not touch the original. Just a thought. Okay, guys, well, that's all I got for right now. It's time for me to go out to the TARDIS and start working on those airplanes. They're not going to build themselves. You guys take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.